Hello children. In the last class, I taught you 3 stanzas from this poem, Alexander Selkirk by William Cowper. Today we'll deal with next 3 stanzas. But before that, let me take you back to the facts which you might have forgotten. Now, Alexander Selkirk is written by William Cowper. William Cowper was an 18th century English poet. Alexander Selkirk is one of his well-known poems where the poet reflects the freedom of the spirit of Alexander Selkirk in a lonely island. Now, Cowper writes about Alexander Selkirk. Now, in fact, the poem was in a different title, The Solitude of Alexander Selkirk. But here, in the textbook which you read, only Alexander Selkirk is given. The editors have taken up that solitude and they have only given you Alexander Selkirk. Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish seaman who survived after shipwreck and left alone in a lonely island. You can see the picture. Alexander Selkirk is sitting in that island. It is a lonely island. It is in the southern part of Pacific Ocean. And Alexander Selkirk remained there for 4 years and 4 months. And this island was an uninhabited island. No human habitation was there. Only birds and animals, they inhabited in that island. He was hopeful. Alexander Selkirk was hopeful. Towards the end of the poem, you will find that he longed for going back to his homeland. And he was hopeful that one day he would go back to his homeland. Now, this poem of Cowper inspired a novelist called Daniel Defoe. And the tragic circumstances, the sadful situations through which Alexander Selkirk went through in that island, and the positive attitude of Selkirk gave inspiration to novelists like Daniel Defoe to write the classic book Robinson Crusoe. So Daniel Defoe, when he read this poem of Cowper about Alexander Selkirk, he wrote the book called Robinson Crusoe, which is very famous. Now children, let me read out the poem and you are to listen to this poem. So please close your eyes and listen to the poem. And you will not see the textbook and nothing will be on the screen. And you can only listen to the poem in the meantime. I am monarch of all I survey. My right there is none to dispute. From the centre all round to the sea, I am lord of the fowl and the brute. O solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? Better dwell in the midst of alarms than reign in this horrible place. I am out of humanity's reach. I must finish my journey alone. Never hear the sweet music of speech. I start at the sound of my own. The beasts that roam over the plain, my form with indifferent see. They are so unacquainted with man, their tameness is shocking to me. Society, friendship, and love, divinely bestowed upon men. Oh, had I the wings of a dove, how soon would I taste you again? My sorrows I then might assuage in the ways of religion and truth, might learn from the wisdom of age, and be cheered by the sallies of youth. Ye winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate shore some cordial endearing report of a land I shall visit no more. My friends, do they now and then send a wish or a thought after me? Oh, tell me, I yet have a friend, though a friend I am never to see. How fleet is a glance of the mind, compared with the speed of its flight. The tempest itself lags behind, and the swift-winged arrows of light. When I think of my own native land, in a moment I seem to be there, but alas, recollection at hand soon hurries me back to despair. But the sea-fowl is gone to her nest, the beast is laid down in his lair. Even here is a season of rest, and I to my cabin repair. There is mercy in every place, and mercy encouraging thought gives even affliction a grace, and reconciles man to his lot. Children, you have listened to the poem. Now, I will read out the poem again, and you will find the entire poem in the screen, and you can enjoy it. You can try to understand about the themes of the poem. I am monarch of all I survey, my right there is none to dispute. From the center all round to the sea, I am lord of the fowl and the brute. O solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? Better dwell in the midst of alarms than reign in this horrible place. I am out of humanity's reach. I must finish my journey alone, never hear the sweet music of speech. I start at the sound of my own. The beasts that roam over the plain, my form with indifferent see, they are so unacquainted with man, their tameness is shocking to me. Society, friendship, and love, divinely bestowed upon man. Oh, had I the wings of a dove, how soon would I taste you again? My sorrows I then might assuage in the ways of religion and truth, might learn from the wisdom of age, and be cheered by the sallies of youth. Ye winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate shore some cordial endearing report of a land I shall visit no more. My friends, do they now and then send a wish or a thought after me? Oh, tell me, I yet have a friend, though a friend I am never to see. How fleet is a glance of the mind, compared with the speed of its flight. The tempest itself lags behind, and the swift-winged arrows of light. When I think of my own native land, in a moment I seem to be there, but alas, recollection at hand soon hurries me back to despair. But the sea-fowl is gone to her nest, the beast is laid down in his lair. Even here is a season of rest, and I to my cabin repair. There is mercy in every place, and mercy encouraging thought gives even affliction a grace, and reconciles man to his lot. Children, you have read the poem now, you have listened to the poem. You might have tried to know the theme of the poem. What is the poem about? The poem is about Alexander Selkirk, a marooned sailor in that lonely island. Now, children, we'll be dealing with next 3 stanzas. Now, we'll have a discussion on the stanza 4. Ye winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate shore. Selkirk is addressing to the wind. He is telling the wind, you have made me your sport, you have made me your plaything, and you have left me in this isolated, lonely island, lonely shore. Convey to this desolate shore some cordial endearing report. And you, wind, you could convey to me some news, some report, some loving report, some sweet report, cordial and endearing report of the society which I left. You can also bring a news of a land I shall visit no more. I am not able to go back to my land. And you can bring news from that land. And you can bring news from my friends. My friends, do they now and then send a wish or thought after me? You, wind, you tell me whether my friends remember me. Are they sending any wish or a thought after me? Are they thoughtful about me? Do they remember me now? Because I am far from them. So, Selkirk thinks about his friends and he wishes that he should get some information from his friends. Wind should bring the information. But how could the wind bring? But here also, you winds, this is also personified. And my friends, do they now and then send a wish or thought after me? Selkirk wants to know whether his friends are actually thinking about Selkirk or not. Though a friend I am never to see. And Selkirk tells that here in this island he is not getting any friend. He is deprived of human relationship. No human being is found to be there in this island. So you winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate means lonely shore, some cordial, loving, endearing report of a land I shall visit no more. He knows that he cannot go back to his homeland. It is impossible unless there is some kind of rescue, unless somebody comes into this island, some human beings, they come in search of him. Otherwise, he will not be able to go back to his homeland. My friends, do they now and then send a wish or a thought after me? Oh, tell me, I yet have a friend. He wants to know whether he has a friend who is very much concerned about him. Though a friend I am never to see. Although he does not find a single friend here, he does not find a single human being to be present in this island. Now, so, in this stanza, Selkirk is addressing the wind. He is telling that he has been made a plaything of the wind. And he is requesting the wind to give him some news of the society. He tells the wind to bring message from the society. And he wants to know whether his friends have remembered him or not. Now, let us go for so stanza 5, you mark, how fleet is a glance of the mind compared with the speed of its flight. Human mind is very fast. It moves very fast. And how fleet is a glance of the mind. It moves faster than the tempest, faster than the arrows of light. So here is a comparison that is made by the poet. Human mind is compared with the speed of the tempest and the speed of the light. And the poet tells that human mind has a great speed. And when I think of my own native land, and this is proved that how faster is the human mind, when Selkirk says, when he thinks of his native land, in a moment, instantly, he seems to be there. Immediately he goes back to his native land. In his imagination, he goes back to his native land. So human mind is faster. And the next moment, Selkirk feels sorry. He expresses his sadness. Alas, recollection at hand. Selkirk tells, when I recollect, when I come back to my own position, come back to my own reality where I am now, I feel very unhappy. Recollection at hand soon hurries me back to despair. The moment I come back to my own reality, I am there in this island, immediately I become very unhappy. Alas, recollection at hand soon hurries me back to despair. So, children, you have marked how human mind is very swift, and it is compared with the storm and the rays of light. And Selkirk thinks of his homeland. He imagines, he goes back to his homeland in his imagination, not reality. It is not reality. When he comes back to his own reality, he finds that he is alone in that island. He is suffering. So, let us go to stanza 6. But the sea fowl is gone to her nest. The beast is laid down in his lair. Now is the evening time. The sea fowl, the sea birds, they have gone for rest. They have gone to their nest. And the animals, they have gone back to their den, to their resting place. Here is a season of rest. Selkirk tells that here also, in this lonely island, there is a routine, there is a principle for rest. The animals also take rest. And therefore, Selkirk goes back to his cabin, which he has made in that small island. And to my cabin repair. And I to my cabin repair. And Selkirk goes back to his cabin and he wants to take rest. And while going to take his rest, Selkirk thinks about God. There is mercy in every place. Selkirk thinks about God's mercy. And mercy encouraging thought. And when Selkirk tells about mercy, he tells that it encourages everyone to pray God to get his mercy. And even in affliction, even in pain, even in painful situation, even in suffering, people seek for God's mercy. And people find grace. And they pray God gives even affliction a grace. So, Selkirk tells that even in affliction there is elegance. Even in suffering there is beauty. Although I am suffering here in this island, I will overcome this situation and a day will come, I will go back to my homeland. I am hopeful that God will be merciful and God will save me from this tragedy. And this thought reconciles man to his lot, and man reconciles himself. He tries to adjust himself to the surrounding. So, in this stanza, you could mark that how animals and birds, they went for a rest. And Selkirk finds a routine life in this island, and he goes back to his cabin. And while taking rest, Selkirk prays for God's mercy. So children, you have observed, you have marked all these stanzas, and if you go for every stanza and try to get a theme, you can get it. Now, in the first stanza, you can find that Selkirk talks about himself, about his position. In the second stanza, he tells about the nature of animals and birds. And in the third stanza, Selkirk tells about society, friendship, and love. And in the fourth stanza, Selkirk addressing the wind and telling the wind to bring some information from his homeland. And in the fifth stanza, Selkirk tells that human mind is very fast. It has the great speed. And in the last stanza, Selkirk finds rest. And while taking rest, Selkirk prays for God's mercy. So children, with these contents, you will try to understand the poem Alexander Selkirk, rather the solitude of Alexander Selkirk. Now, children, you have some questions before you. Say whether sentences below are true or false. The poem Alexander Selkirk is written by Shakespeare. It is not written by Shakespeare. It is a false statement. Selkirk finds no human being in that island. It is a true statement. Selkirk finds the animals to be violent. Do you think animals became violent with Selkirk? No. So they were tame. They were indifferent to Selkirk. So Selkirk finds the animals to be violent is a false statement. Selkirk prefers to live in the midst of alarm. This is true. Selkirk remembers his family and laments. This is true. Selkirk wanted a human being to give him company. This is also true. Selkirk very much longed for human beings, but he could not find a single company there in that island. Selkirk likes the wisdom of age. Selkirk thought of elderly people, and he likes the wisdom of age. This is true. He liked it. Selkirk did not like solitude. Sages did not like solitude. Sages liked solitude, but Selkirk did not agree with the sages. Selkirk expects for God's mercy. It is true. Now, fill in the blanks with the right words. The poem reflects the freedom of Selkirk's spirit in an island. The poet says there is no one in that island to dispute. There is nobody to oppose him. He has expressed it in the first stanza. The poet compares the flight of death with the tempest. The poet compares the speed of human mind, that you know. The poet compares the flight of human mind with the tempest, with the storm. Days are divine gifts of God. Society, friendship, and love are divine gifts of God. That you have seen in the third stanza. It is given society, friendship, and love. Selkirk becomes unhappy to remember his homeland. He becomes unhappy because he wants to be there, and he cannot change his position. He cannot change his situation. So Selkirk becomes unhappy to remember his homeland. The poet appeals the wind to bring death of his native place. He tells the wind to bring some information, some news of his native place. So the poet addressed the winds. Ye winds that have made me your sport, convey to this desolate shore some cordial endearing report of a land I shall visit no more, he has told. So the poet appeals to the wind to bring some information of his native land. The beasts on the island, they roam over the days. That is also given from the poem. The beasts On the island, they roam over the plain. They roam, they wander in that island. The poet feels that he is out of humanity's reach. That is given in the first stanza, that is given, and towards in the second stanza also, I am out of humanity's reach, it is given. So, no human being can reach him. That is his expression. So, the poet feels that he is out of humanity's reach. So, children, I have taught you Alexander Selkirk. In my first class, I dealt with 3 stanzas. In the second class, I also dealt with 3 stanzas. I explained the poem in detail. Now, you have to read the poem. It is said you should go back to the text time and again to understand the poem. If you read the poem, you can understand it better. That is why I asked you to listen to the poem, because when you listen to my poem, you listen to the musical effect, the rhythmical effect of the poem, and some aspects of the poem went into your mind. That was true. And so, it is very important that when you read a poem, you should read the whole poem, not part by part. The entire poem is to be read to get the thought inherent in it. So, thank you, children.